I'd rather die than marry him. My girlfriend laughed when her friend asked about a proposal. I smiled, stood up, and left. An hour later, she called begging. My girlfriend's friend asked when I was going to propose. My girlfriend laughed and said, I'd rather die than marry him. She said it in front of 6 people. I was sitting right next to her. I smiled. I stood up. I picked up my jacket and walked out of the restaurant. An hour later, she called me 17 times. I answered the 18th. She was crying. I wasn't. Her name is Adrienne. We'd been together for 2 years and 8 months. I thought we were heading toward marriage. We'd talked about it casually. She'd pointed out engagement rings in magazine ads. She'd mentioned wanting a fall wedding. She'd sent me a link to a venue in Vermont and said, wouldn't this be perfect? I took all of those signals seriously. I'd already started looking at rings. Nothing flashy. A solitaire on a gold band. Something that truly matched her. Simple and sure. The dinner was at a trendy Italian place downtown. Adrienne's friend group, her college roommate Kelsey, 2 coworkers, and their partners. 8 of us total. I liked most of them. The conversation was easy. Wine, pasta, normal. Then Kelsey leaned across the table and said, so when's this one finally going to put a ring on it? She pointed at me. Adrienne laughed. Not a nervous laugh. A full, immediate, performative laugh. And then she said it. I'd rather die than marry him. Kelsey laughed. One of the coworkers laughed. Adrienne looked at me like she expected me to laugh too. Like the joke was obvious and I was supposed to play along. I wasn't laughing. The table went semi-quiet. One of the partners, a guy named Wesley, looked at me with an expression that said, that was bad. Adrienne nudged me. I'm kidding. Relax. I smiled. I set my napkin on the table. I stood up. I put on my jacket. I said, enjoy the rest of dinner. And I walked out. I didn't slam anything. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove home. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall for about 40 minutes. Then the calls started. 17 missed calls in 1 hour. I answered the 18th. Where are you, home? Why did you leave? You told a table full of people you'd rather die than marry me. It was a joke. I've been ring shopping for 2 months, Adrienne. Silence. You, what? I've been looking at rings since September. I was going to propose on your birthday in November. I had a plan, a restaurant, a speech. I was going to ask you to spend the rest of your life with me. And tonight you told your friends you'd rather die than do that. She started crying. I didn't know. That's not the point. Even if I'd never looked at a single ring, what you said was humiliating. You told 6 people that marrying me was worse than death. That's not a joke. That's a statement. I was being sarcastic. Sarcasm is supposed to be funny. Nobody at that table was laughing except you and Kelsey. Kelsey laughed. Kelsey laughs at everything. Wesley looked at me like I'd been slapped because I had been. She asked to come over. I said not tonight. She asked if we were breaking up. I said I didn't know. I just knew that I'd been carrying a secret plan to build a life with someone who publicly laughed at the idea. She came over the next morning. She brought coffee. She sat on my couch and said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I panicked. Kelsey put me on the spot and I said something stupid. You didn't panic. You laughed first. The sentence came after the laugh. That's not panic. That's comfort. You were comfortable saying it. She cried again. She said she loved me deeply, that she did want to marry me, that she'd been hoping I'd propose. I said, you sent me a link to a venue in Vermont 3 months ago. You pointed out rings in magazines, and when someone asked you in public, you said you'd rather die. Which version is real? She said both. That she wanted it privately, but wasn't ready to admit it publicly. That her friends made her self-conscious about seeming too eager. That she overcorrected. You overcorrected by saying you'd rather die than marry me. In front of my face. I told her I needed space. I took 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, I thought about every time she downplayed me in front of people. The time she told her friends I made okay money. The time she introduced me to her boss as just my boyfriend. The time she laughed when Kelsey said I was punching above my weight and she didn't correct it. It was a pattern. She valued me in private and diminished me in public. The proposal comment was the loudest version of something she'd been doing for years. I went back after 2 weeks. I told her I wasn't proposing. Not now. Maybe not ever with her. She asked what she could do. I said, start by saying in public what you say in private. And if you can't do that, then what you say in private isn't real either. We're still together, technically. But the ring I was looking at is still in the jeweler's window. I drive past it sometimes. I don't stop. The venue in Vermont is still bookmarked on her phone. She doesn't mention it anymore. Some jokes don't land because they weren't jokes. They were the truth dressed up as humor so it wouldn't have to carry the weight of what it actually meant. She'd rather die. I'd rather know. Now I do.